So good morning, students. Today, in the last class, we had discussed about the about the plasma membrane, fluid mosaic model of plasma membrane. Okay. So in that we had studied how the lipid are arranged. That is in the bilayer, that lipid layer or the lipid molecules, which is in the form of phosphoglycerides or in the phospholipids. They are arranged in the bilayer. Along with them, there will be presence of certain carbohydrates, that is the oligosaccharides, and certain proteins, which are the peripheral and the intrinsic proteins. Okay, so that all things we had studied in the last class. So today we will see about the next topic, that is the cell wall. Okay, we will see about the next topic, cell wall. Okay, here what is cell wall? It is a non-living structure and forms an outer covering. Here, first of all, cell wall, it is a non-living structure. Okay, it is a non-living rigid structure. What it is? It is a non-living rigid structure. Okay, why we are telling it is the non-living rigid structure means, see, after the maturation, the cells, whatever the cells in the root will be there, that cells are become rigid. That's why they are telling it as the non-living and rigid structure, and it forms an outer covering. See, either the cell wall which is present only in the plant cell. Okay, it is present only in the plant cell. Okay, but it is not only the plant cell but also in some of the fungi and in some of the algae, in plant cell and algal cell. Plant cell and algal cell, you will found a cell wall. The next thing, in animal cell, this cell wall is absent, but all over in all the living organism, you will find the cell membrane. What you will find, that is the cell membrane. Here, in the plant cell and in the algal cell, in the plant cell and in algal cell, you see, this is the cell wall, and here this is the cell wall which is present at the outer side of the cell. Okay, and which is the cell wall is forming a covering over the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. This red color line, it represents the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay, here you see, this is the cell membrane which is present towards the inner side of the cytoplasm of the cell. Here, towards this, around this red colored line, you can see a black colored line which is forming and covering, outmost covering of what? Over the cell membrane. So see here, it forms an outer covering, forms an outer covering for the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane of what? Of especially of plants and fungi. In which organism you will find such type of covering over the plasma membrane means that it is in the plant cell and as well as the fungal cell. You will find an outermost covering, and that is, you can see here. Here this is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. Towards, or it forms a covering or covering over this cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Okay, so this is about the cell wall. The cell wall, what is the chemical composition of cell wall? Let's see here. Chemical composition of cell wall. See here, what is the chemical composition of cell wall? Here means, so here see, the chemical composition of algal cell wall is different from the chemical composition of what? Plant cell wall. So first we will see about the algal cell wall. See here, first that is, we will see about the algal cell. Okay, or algae cell wall. Okay, so it is made up of cellulose, galactons, mannans. Okay, cellulose, galactons, mannans, these all are what? These all are the carbohydrates. Okay, mannans, and along with these carbohydrates, this algal cell wall also consists of certain minerals. What does it contain? It contains certain minerals. What is that specifically mineral which is present in the algal cell wall? Means that it is the calcium carbonate. What it is? It is the calcium carbonate. So this is about the feed. What are the things which are present in the algae cell wall or algal cell wall? Cellulose, galactons, and mannans. Okay, so these three are the carbohydrates which are present in what? In the algal cell wall. And next, here you see certain minerals are also present in the algal cell wall. What are they? That is the calcium carbonate. So next we will see here, that is about the plant cell. Okay, here in this plant cell wall, what is the chemical composition of plant cell wall? Means it is composed of, or it is made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, okay, and certain proteins are also found in this plant cell wall. What are the things which are present in the plant cell wall? That is, the cell wall of plant, it is made up of the cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, and certain proteins. Okay, the next here, see, this is about the chemical composition. Here, the algal cell wall, it is made up of cellulose, galactons, and mannans, and certain calcium minerals are present, that is the calcium carbonate. Except this one, the plant cell wall, which is made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, and next to that, proteins. So next we will see about the certain structural formation of what? Of a cell wall. Now next, that is here the cell wall of the young plant cell. Cell wall of the young plant cell. Okay, young plant cell is called the primary wall. It is called as the primary wall. Primary wall, and this primary wall, especially this primary wall, is what is the major function of this primary wall? Means that it is capable of growth. Okay, what it is? That it is capable of what? Of a growth. Now listen here. Whatever the how the cell wall, what is the structural formation of, or what is the structure of cell wall means? We will see here. It will be like this. Okay, here. Okay, see here. This is the human cell human. Okay, the next here. This is the intercellular spaces. Except this one, here there is a presence of a wall that is known as the primary wall. See here, whatever the cell wall of young plant will be there, that particular wall is known as, which will be young. Okay, this one, that will be known as the primary wall. Here, the primary wall, what is the major function of the primary wall? Means that it is capable of what? Capable of growth, which will further grow. Okay, it has the ability to growth. So, when after growth, when the primary cell wall attains the activity, that is the capability of growth, after that, when cell matures, when cell gets matures. See here, when cell matures, okay, this growth will diminish. What happens? This growth is going to stop when, see, when the cell wall is younger one, at that time this primary wall will grow. Okay. So when the cell gets matured, this primary wall stops its growth because there is no requirement of the growth because the cell wall gets matured. Okay. This capability of the growth gets diminishes, and a secondary wall is formed on the inner side of the cell wall. When the primary wall stops its growth, in the inner side of the cell wall, it forms a secondary wall. When this primary wall loses its capability to grow, at that time, what it forms means it forms a secondary wall towards the inner side of the cell. Okay, so the middle lamella is mainly, one more layer is there, that is the middle lamella, which is mainly composed of calcium pectate. Here you see, in between the primary and the secondary wall, there is a presence of a middle layer. Okay, and this middle layer is known as the middle lamella. What it is known as? It is known as the middle lamella. So this middle lamella is a layer which is mainly composed of what? That it is mainly composed of calcium pectate. What it is made up of? It is made up of a specific chemical substance, and that is known as the calcium pectate. Okay. The middle lamella layer, which is present in between the primary wall and the secondary wall, there is a presence. I had represented it with the blue color line. So that layer is the middle layer. This is the middle layer, which is mainly composed of what? That is the calcium pectate. So, what is the function of this calcium pectate? Let's see here. This calcium pectate layer, it holds or glues. It holds or glues the neighboring cell. Okay, what does it mean? You see, whatever this is one cell, some part you can see, this is the another cell, this is the another cell, this is the another cell. They all together are sticked to one another, attached to one another. Okay, here who is making, what is that particular substance which is going to make that particular one cell to be attached with the another cell, means that is due to the presence of a substance that is the calcium pectate. What it is? That it is the calcium pectate. It holds or glues the different neighboring cells. Okay, neighboring cells together. Whatever, how these cells are, for example, this is the another cell. Here also there is a presence of middle lamella. This middle lamella, which consists of calcium pectate. Here they are sticked together. This is one cell and this is the another cell. How that cells are sticked together means that is due to the presence of calcium pectate in the middle lamella. What does it do? It holds or glues the neighboring cells together. Okay, then here the cell wall and the middle lamella will be transferred. If it is transferredly seen, that is there is a presence of certain structures that is known as the plasmodesmata. We can see here there is a presence of a plasmodesmata. What it is? That it is the structure is known as the will be like this, and this structure is known as the plasmodesmata. Which is making a way from one cell to the another cell. What it is? That it is the plasmodesmata. So what is the function of plasmodesmata means? You will see here. See, whatever the cytoplasm will be there in the one cell. Okay, that cytoplasm will stream from this cell to that another cell. That means what is the function of plasmodesmata means it connects the cytoplasm of connects the cytoplasm of the other neighboring cell. See here, whatever the cytoplasm will be present in this cell, it is going to be connected to the another cell by what? By a structure that is known as the plasmodesmata. What it is known as? It is known as the plasmodesmata. So this topic is stopped or is ended over here. Next we will go for the chapter number 2, that is morphology of flowering plants. Let's see that chapter. Now listen here. Chapter number 2, that it is morphology of flowering plants. flowering plants. Morphology of what? Of the flowering plants. See here. This is a chapter which is based on the morphology of what? Of flowering plants. The flowering plants, which is also known as the, or which is also called as the class angiosperms. What it is? Angiosperms. And if it is non-flowering plants means you would have called it as the gymnosperms. Okay, in that the classification of the plant, the first is the angiosperms, that is flowering plants. So in these flowering plants, you have to study about the morphology. What do you mean by the morphology? What is the definition of morphology? Let's see here. Morphology. Okay, here it deals with the study of with the study of size, shape, and structure of the external parts of the plant. That is known as the morphology. Okay. One more term is there. That also I will tell you. That is the anatomy. If they had given the anatomy of the flowering plants means what is the definition of that means it deals with the study of size, shape, and structure of the internal parts of the plants. Okay, internal parts of the plant. See here, what do you mean by morphology and what do you mean by anatomy? Means morphology, it is the study of size, shape, and structure. Whatever the size will be there, shapes will be there, and structure will be there. Structure, size, and shape of what? Of the external parts. The parts which is present outside of the body. Okay, that is external parts of the plant body. That is known as the morphology. And what do you mean by anatomy? Means it deals with the study of size, shape, and structure of the internal parts. The parts which are present inside the body of the plant, that it is known as the internal parts. External parts means we will see here what is the morphological structure of the flowering plant. This is the definition of morphology and anatomy. Morphology means external parts, study of external parts. Then anatomy means that is the study of internal parts. Here I will draw one diagram of a flowering plant. You just see it. This way it will be there. What it is? This is the particular atypical structure of what? Of a plant. Okay. You see here. First, there are two parts. That is the aerial part and the one more part, that is the root part. Let's see. This is the root system and this one, which is the aerial part, that it is the shoot system. Okay, in this, what are the parts? First, we will see about the root. Here, in this root system, first, whatever a part of the root which is arising from a radical part. What do you mean by this radical? See here, this is the seed. When it gets germinated, here a small hole will be there, and that is known as the radical, and one more point will be there. This is known as the plumule. Plumule will give rise to the shoot system, and radical will give rise to the root system. Okay. Now next, here this root system, it's having a particular root, which is the first part. Just arises from which part? Means that is the radical, and it is known as the primary root. What it is known as? It is known as the primary root, and its primary root, it further divides to form the secondary root, tertiary root, and all that roots we will call them as the lateral roots. What it is? That it is the lateral roots. Okay, this is the primary root, which is the primary or first when a radical is going to germinate, or when a seed is going to germinate, this radical will give rise to the primary root. That primary root further divides to form a secondary root. Here I will write. This is the secondary root. Then this is the tertiary. Okay, secondary root, then tertiary root. The next thing here, you see, in the shoot system, in the shoot system, which is present just above the soil surface, that is in the aerial part. Here there is a presence of first, that is the stem. This is the stem. On this stem there is a presence of certain nodes. These are the nodes. Okay, whatever the space in between the node, with black color I will mention here. This is the node. Sorry. This is one node and this is the another node. Whatever the space in between the two nodes are there, that it is known as the internode. Node, then internode. Okay. The next here, that in the shoot system there is a presence of flowers. Then these are the leaves, and whatever the base of the leaves which is arising, which is forming a leaf, which is giving rise to leaf, that is the petiole, which holds the leaf, that is the petiole. Then this is the stem. See, and one more thing, at the terminal end of the leaf plant, there is a presence of an apical bud. So this is the structure. See, once again I will tell you about the structure of this plant, flowering plant. Listen here. First thing, in the morphological. See, all these things are the morphological structures of what? Of the flowering plant. Morphological structures means by seeing externally or by seeing from the outer side, you can see certain features, certain parts of the plant body. That we are calling it as the morphological characters or morphology of the flowering plants. In that, first, the majorly this plant is divided into two parts, that is the shoot system and the root system. See, this root system which is present below the soil or below the soil surface or below the earth surface. In this there is a presence of a primary root, secondary root and tertiary root. For the secondary and tertiary root, it is known as the lateral root. Then in the shoot system, whatever the shoot system is there, which is composed of many parts. Okay, shoot system, it is in the aerial part of the plant. Okay, so here it is having a slender structure which is towards the upper side of the earth surface. Okay, this is known as the stem. To the stem, first of all, there is a presence of certain nodes. Okay, one node, then another node. Within a certain space, there is a presence arising of another node. Okay, so whatever the space in between these two nodes is there, that it is known as the internode. From that node only, certain branches and certain leaves are going to arise. So, and whenever the leaves are going to arise, one structure will be there, that is known as the petiole, which holds the leaf. Okay, and except this, there will be flowers. Flowers which further give rise to the fruit and the seed. Okay, so these flowers are also meant for the attracting the pollinators. For what purpose? For fertilization. Then next, here you can see these are the apical buds, which further forms and it further matures and opens to form a flower. Okay, so this is about what? This is about the morphological structure of a typical plant. The next, in the next class, we will study about the root. What are the different types of root system? Then what are the modification of root? Okay, thank you.